Hi, and welcome back to the Meta Performance Podcast. This is going to be a really fun conversation, primarily because our guest, Laura Aubrey, is a friend,
Yes.
a really good friend of our family, has also helped us, and we'll get into this as we talk about her real estate career, has helped us buy and sell. I think there was the farm, there was a
Farm.
condo, sold
Yep.
our house, helped our daughter sell her house. So,
So, yes,
yep.
yes.
So
Wow.
we're locked in. I think we're funding your kids' college tuition or
It's
something like
cool.
that.
Yes, and I'm very grateful for it.
So a little bit about Laura, and then I'm going to ask you to fill in some of the gaps. So you grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, not too far
Yep.
from where I'm sitting here. You went to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
Yep.
At least it wasn't Duke.
It wasn't Duke, but Duke
Where
did.
you,
So
yeah,
it pains me for the kids, but not for the jersey that they wear. So,
absolutely. You were on the varsity. You were a varsity rower.
yes.
At UNC, and then became an assistant coach there. And
Mhm.
then in about 2004, you moved to Louisville to become the coach at the University of Louisville. And you were there from 2004 to 2012?
Yep, that's it.
All right. It's a lot of coaching. So we're going to get into the coaching. We're going to get into time as an athlete. And then also your time, I mentioned real estate. After you transitioned out of coaching, you got into real estate. And boy, did you.
Yes.
You really made your mark there. You quickly became the top selling agent at Kentucky Select,
Mhm.
averaging more than $15 million in sales annually. You also placed in the top 50 selling agents in a market where there's over 5,000 real estate agents.
Top 25
Uh,
this year.
there you go.
Not that
And now
I
you made the decision to go out on your own.
Yes.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that because there's the whole entrepreneur, even though being a real estate agent is somewhat a solo practitioner's
Yeah.
game. There's some excitement about starting your own company and running the show yourself. What would you add to that? I know I've skipped over some stuff like triathlon. You dabbled in triathlon as well.
Yep, yep. I mean, it's all, interconnected. I mean, I started rowing in my junior year of college. So I spent my first 2 years just being a normal college student and transferred and then started rowing. I had done, some athletics prior to that, horseback riding mostly, trained horses and taught lessons and things like that. So coaching and kind of that mindset of having goals has been a part of my life always. And it's ever evolving. It went from horses to rowing to coaching to real estate to parenting, all of the above to kind of support us. So that's definitely been the journey. And then of course within there, like you said, triathlons. I started doing triathlons after college, Ironman and bikes and all of that good stuff. So it's definitely been a part of my life.
A- Absolutely. Yeah, as I was getting prepared for this, I have in my mind this picture that Marcia took.
Yes.
And we came down, this is for the Louisville, I don't know what year, probably '07
Oh nine.
would have been '09.
No. Yes. No. Oh wait. Oh wait. It would have been oh
Yeah,
eight.
because I did '09. So
Yes, you did.
2008.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, let's get down and see Laura. And like I had a vision of what triathlon was, but I just remember this one picture she took of you and you got the sponges tucked underneath and just hot as blazes out there on the run.
Yeah.
And yet it was still inspiring enough for me to
To
want to
wanna
do
do.
one.
I remember getting out of that one specifically, and I remember going, "Gosh, it feels so great out here," and then everybody's like, it was like the hottest triathlon, but, it's like, I felt so you felt so good and you're happy and you're just grateful to be out there, and it's I had the best day ever. It was awesome. I remember every minute of it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So one of the things we ask everybody that comes on, and
Mhm.
especially with your background, um, being an athlete, being a coach, now being an entrepreneur, um, how do you define high performance, and how do you know when you're performing at a high level?
And I appreciate the prompt of the email to kinda let me think about it, and, how I probably define it today, I don't think it's necessarily different. It just feels differently. And when you're an athlete, you're defining high performance by how fast you're running, how your training's going, how do you feel on race day? Did you prepare the night before? How did that impact how you felt the next day? Like, so you have these very like tangible results driven information to kind of give you feedback on that today. When I was coaching, high performance is how are the athletes feeling? How many injuries do we have? Are we reaching our goals? How's the culture of the team? How's the mindset of the team? And you try to have, benchmarks from history as well as people that you're looking at and trying to aspire to be to determine like where on the scale that you land. Same thing when I got into real estate, you're kind of going, how am I measuring my performance today as a parent? It's like how you're balancing, trying to raise. I have 3 girls, that are still relatively young, high school, middle school, elementary school, while running a business. So how do you measure that? How do you define that high performance? I think I used sport early on to, if I don't know what it would be like setting goals for myself. Am I truly pushing the limit? Right. You gain that insight about yourself for me, it was through a lot of sports to go, am I really doing everything I can to maximize my potential today? Right. Like
Hmm.
now I can use that as information to determine, can I be better tomorrow? Right. Because I'll
Sure.
have more information about myself. But am I doing everything within my control today? And for me, that's like, am I going to bed on time? Am I, getting up and planning my day and really utilizing, time blocking to go, I got this window of time to get this done. I got this window of time to get this done. And if I don't do these things, I know what the downstream effect of that is. Just like if I were training and I didn't get in my run and I didn't get in my swim, I know I'm not going to perform as well as I would want to perform, on race day. So, you can only work you have to be, give yourself grace is what I always say.
Mm.
Like, we can't be perfect all the time, right? But if you truly are trying to achieve something, you have to be reflective on what you can control and how that's going to impact what you're doing today and how it plays out or pans out tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the looking at the day that
Yeah.
I'm doing the best I can today,
Yeah.
and then how I perform today is going to inform tomorrow. Um, because it really is. I always say it's progress over perfection.
Yeah.
Perfection may be the goal, but you're never going to get there. It's going to drive you crazy if you think you're going
Yeah,
to
and
get there.
perfection, you can, that definition is like ever evolving because you learn information that allows you to perfect something further down the road or make it a little bit better or, you want to enjoy it, it's like you don't want it at the compromise of like sanity and peace and like feeling good about like what you are actually accomplishing as well. You don't want that to override the enjoyment of the process either. So
Yeah, and
it's
I
ever
was
evolving.
yeah, and I was thinking about the controlling the controllables, and I just think about our experience of buying and selling houses, and I mean, I've seen you work not only for us, but for Anna and for other people, and, like, you can't control when those people are gonna wanna make an offer, and you can't
No,
control, um and so I
how
guess
somebody yeah.
how do you handle that? Are there things that you brought from your sporting career and your coaching career that help you deal with that a lot of variables that are outside your control?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, especially even when we were coaching athletes, you try to take the lessons that you teach them, where it's like expect the unexpected, right?
Mhm.
Like, and that you can only control what like you can control. So I think experience over time helps you learn how to manage the unexpected, right? And confidence of like, it's likely going to work itself out, right? Like we're going to be able to find a solution. Like, I'm never going to claim to have all of the answers, but
Mhm.
the mindset to me of like the athlete is like, you don't give up, right? Like, you just keep pushing and you through sport and through exercise, you will learn that like sometimes we're our greatest limiter. Like we usually are the one that puts a lid on something. So the way that comes out in real estate or in life is that like I don't have to know all the answers, but I sure am gonna die on the hill trying to find the answer, right? And I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep pushing to figure out who can give me not the right answer, but a answer or a solution, or help me better understand so that I can maybe prevent this from happening again, you know? And I think the work that you do to prepare for those things, or at least knowing that you're doing everything that you can when something happens, like you feel not like, well, I know I did everything I can, like it's not my fault, but like you feel confident that like it will either resolve itself or it just has to be something that like you put in your toolbox to help you on the next time to
The next
prevent
time.
something like this from happening, you know, kind of scenario.
And so what practices have you developed that have helped you? I mean, it could be in coaching or especially in real estate, to help you continue to perform at a high level.
I mean, I think about when when I was, whether you're training, whether you're coaching, and even in real estate, like I have to have a plan, right? And it's like my training plan, in so that you can have something to go back and reflect on to go, did this get me closer or further away from the goal? Right. And was there something I could have done better, or where do we need to tweak it, like here or there? And so, for me, a training plan is about time blocking. And so I time block. I know my schedule with myself. I know I'm not great at it right now. What I'd like to do is get up in the morning, and go to the gym and, do all of that. Now, when I'm doing that at a high level, I'm usually performing at my best. So for me, it's kind of like you basically have a training plan. It's shaped a little bit differently because I'm not trying to get like 20 hours of a workout in, but the training plan to me is my day, right? So
Mhm.
like, I know my window of time to, if I want to have my own personal, what I call me time. When my kids were little, they'd be like, wake me up in the morning. I'm like, oh, heck no, that's my time. Like, so I'm getting up, I know you know about Furley rides and all of that when you've got kids. Like, if you want to do those things and you want to build a business, like you have to figure out when that is going to happen. For us, it's usually 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. And
Mhm.
then, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. is getting the kids out the door, getting them ready for school, doing all that. And then during the week, with a team that I'm growing on the real estate side, like, so it's, to me, it's time blocking really, and
Yeah.
planning it out and knowing, what are the most important things that I need to get done in this week in order to move the needle forward, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 5 years from now.
Yeah, I love that because it reminds me of that saying. I'm gonna butcher the saying, but it's like, don't prioritize your schedule, schedule your priorities,
Yeah.
which is you
100%.
have to know what's important to you, what your values are, and
Yep.
then you schedule the top one first, block time for that, and so on down the
Yeah.
line.
And because real estate, it can be so reactive, like so much of what I'm trying to do is to prevent like reactions to everything that comes my way. And that's taken time, where you have to learn how to train your clients. Like, this is how I communicate. This is how you talk to me. This is when I'm available. Like, and so you learn that over, anybody can be trained, right? Like, it's just a matter of understanding, so then you don't feel like you are just reacting to everything that comes at you, that it's a proactive approach to it. And because you prioritize your time, because like if somebody's like, hey, Laura, I want to go show this house, like you've learned, like, yes, I do, but I'm available at this time. Does that work for you? Because I know 10 to 12, I've got to get this done. And if it doesn't get done, then it's going to mess something up probably, on down the road, and I
Yeah.
feel like you had those same things if you were, training for an Ironman and trying to, squeeze in 20 hours worth of work, of extra sessions that you have to get in. If I don't do it now, it's likely not going to get done later. And then I'm a day behind, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, that's how the Furley rides and runs
Right.
became a thing.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what Furley is, it stands for effing early.
Right. And it was.
Uh,
Now, I never participated in those, but I heard about them. My Furley, though I did do a Furley with your wife a lot when she would come pick me up and take me to the gym. But that's when we had to get it done.
yep.
Was, I know she drove to Frankfurt, for many years and we were running together early in the morning because, you just have to prioritize of like, if I'm going to get it done, this is when I got to get it done.
Yeah. When that window of opportunity opens, you got to jump out.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
So with all, now starting your own company,
Yep.
which has its own challenges,
Mhm,
and family,
mhm.
uh, how do you, and I'm sure, and I know that the kids are very active doing various things and it's, a lot of shuttling people here and there.
We got one driver on the way, so I'm looking forward
That
to that.
that's going to be a game changer for you
Game
all.
changer. Yes.
What have been the things that have helped you? I always stray away from the word balance because I think it's a myth. Like it's no, it's a fluid thing. And so, what are the things that you and Keith do to kind of at least
Keep it
make it
balanced.
harmonious?
We're still trying to figure that out. I mean, I think it's always ever evolving, right? Because it's like when the kids are little and you think, oh, this is the hardest phase, right? But they're contained. I was
Hmm.
at a house last night and this one of our clients, has got a 14-month-old. And I'm like, oh my God, you can pay me all the money in the world to go back to like it's all, the baby's all over the place, So they
Right.
all are, it's always changing. To me, it's always ever evolving. And I think you have to learn how to adapt, right? That like you can't be so rigid that then you just get completely derailed with every little curveball that might be kind of thrown your way. So I do think that, and I even remember that with our athletes, I was like, you have to be able to be able to adapt to the situation that you're in, because there is always going to be a curveball that's coming your way. And if
Yep.
it comes your way and it completely derails everything that you're doing, that's not great either. Like you need to have, you obviously need to have, the time blocking. You have to some sense of order, some sense of schedule, but it can't be so rigid that it just completely throws you off your rocker the second something hits. And so I would say for me, that's you just kind of learn how to bob and weave, with it, and you try
Hmm.
to adjust with, the changes that are occurring with kids and activities and all of in new business and clients coming at you. Mine is probably a little bit of a sickness because like I could literally work and never stop. Like it's not a great thing. That's something I'm trying to work on like this year is balance, right? Like balance does
Yep.
not exist in my world. Now it's allowed me to be very successful.
Hmm.
But where is the line of success and peace and harmony in your world also exist?
For sure.
Because I could, I'm going on vacation Friday, and even my friend who's going to come with us, she was like, "Now, are you going to work the whole time?" And I was like, "No,
No.
no, I promise I'm not." But that's part of being, a business owner, and when you're running the show, that's just kind of part of it,
Yeah.
or it has
Well, I
been for
love
me.
the Yeah, and I love the adaptability because I think you're right that I mean one of the keys to sustainable high performance and
Yes.
um, is being flexible,
Yeah.
being adaptable, realizing yes, have a plan,
Hmm.
um, but also have what happens
A
if it doesn't go
little
to plan,
correct, correct.
and
So it
what are you
just
going to
doesn't
do then?
destroy you, with that, and pop the balloon, in that moment. So
So tell me a little bit about what made you, or I guess not made you, why did you decide to go out on your own? I mean, I'm sure being in an established agency, there was some comfort there.
yeah,
And starting a business on your own, being a solo practitioner is
yeah.
can be a little scary.
Yeah, so I mean, when I got into real estate, it was I didn't know I mean, I knew people in Louisville, but I didn't know a ton of people in Louisville because I was a coach and, coached at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so, we were in our like little bubble of that. So when I made the move to real estate, I knew I wanted to be surrounded around professionals because we all, elevate by the people that we're around. And so the brokerage that I was with had a great reputation, great training for, newer agents. But typical, like, so I was in real estate for about 4 years before I started to go, even when I was in coaching, we would go to real estate or not conference real estate. We would go to coaching conferences, and you
Mhm.
learn talking with professionals and other people. And how are you doing this? And what are you doing over here? Which I loved. I love that kind of like collaboration and sharing and abundance mindset, of versus like a scarcity mindset where if like I share you this information, that's gonna, you know, take business away from me. And the brokerages I was at, which was a great brokerage, but it was a locally owned brokerage. So I didn't have that national kind of connection or collaboration. So I started just kind of seeking those opportunities nationally. And then I shortly after that got a real estate coach because I loved having somebody that you can check yourself with and keep you accountable and think a little bit bigger. And that's just who I am, right? Like I'm always like, how can I make it a little bit better? How can I, elevate it a little bit more? Where a lot of people are fine with just like status quo. And that's not anything against that, but that just wasn't that's not who I am. So once I was with Kentucky Select, like you said, for about 11 years. At that point, I had hired a full-time salaried assistant of mine. So I was paying her full-time salary. I'd opened up my own office space here in the area that I live in. I was looking at my business like a business, right? But a
Mhm.
lot of, agents, real estate agents don't necessarily look at their business like a business. I want to go, if I'm going to do this for 25 years or 30 years, I want it to be worth something 25 to 30 years, but you have to run it like a business so it becomes an asset that I can
Yeah.
sell and, who knows what. So I'm always looking down the road. And sometimes when you get to just a crossroads where you go, this has serviced me really well, and I wouldn't be where I am today without it. But for me to go to the next level, because I'm always going, what's the next level? I had to have the autonomy to run it the way that I wanted to run it. And because I had these other little things already kind of in place, it didn't feel like I was taking a monumental leap with that because I was doing so much of it, no differently than
Already.
Kentucky Select was running their business. They just had more people underneath them kind of thing. So,
That's interesting.
yeah.
Because that fork in the road, I mean, you probably saw this in coaching as well, is that you have an athlete that is performing at a high level,
Hmm.
but continues to do the same things, and so they never get to that next level, and so you almost have to say, okay, let's try something totally different.
Yeah.
May work, may not work, but we think it's the thing that's going to nudge you up the
Yeah.
next rung.
Have to have a slightly different mindset, around, what it and defining what the next level is because what my next level in real estate is or for an athlete can be totally different. That's totally dependent on their goals and getting clear on like constantly every day I'm still like, why am I doing this? What is my why? Why is this so important to me? Right? Like why am I turning myself into a crazy person? It would just be easier if I could just be fine with just being like, I'm gonna go sell some houses, right? But like
Mhm.
that's not who we are, right? Like, and so, but sometimes that's hard, right? Because like it doesn't feel like anything's ever enough, right? And so then you're like, how okay and that's where you have to come back to your why, like why is this so important to me to do, because that's usually what has to me come clear when you hit a wall.
Oh, yeah, and I think the when I see people who are struggling or feel stuck,
Mhm.
it's often that, uh, they haven't even defined their why.
Right.
So they're not even sure why they're doing this, or it's not strong enough.
Correct.
Sometimes it's, "Oh, I saw that other person do an Ironman. I wanna go do an Ironman."
Right,
And
until
I've
you
talked to
realize
athletes, I'm like, "Well,
what that really
y
means.
you that's not gonna get you out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning
No.
when you feel horrible. It's not gonna keep you from wanting to crawl in the bed, at 7 o'clock at night, when you should be going to do your second workout of the day. It's really knowing that why is the anchor that's gonna get you
100%.
through those valleys of, "I just wanna sell houses," and,
Yeah. And because it is so, I mean, it is chaotic with kids and activities and, all of that. And so, I mean, and that isn't always clear for me either, right? Like, so usually when I'm struggling either from a motivation standpoint or I can't get it to, or I start getting into that reaction standpoint, where I'm reacting to everything. I mean, it's kind of like I usually have to kind of come back to that. I'm like, okay, what are we doing all this for? Like, let's get clear
Hmm.
on that. And then that kind of usually like recenters yourself to go, okay, now we prioritize like how are we going to go about this?
Yeah, and I also, even though we're friends, so this isn't self-serving. Like, I really think you take a different approach than most real estate agents. In It's not just about selling houses.
No,
Like, I
no.
think about your social media presence, which has been amazing. And it's like I wrote down, like, it feels like a love letter to Louisville, especially the Highlands.
Oh, yay.
I mean, you're out there just highlighting, like, here's a great ice cream place. Like,
Yeah.
it's within walking distance of, the Douglas Loop.
Yep.
And it really is, I don't know, it truly is a love letter to Louisville, and highlights what a great city it is. And I think that sets you apart from most real estate agents who are just interested in the transactional experience
Yeah.
of, let me show you some houses, here, buy this one, and
And then
I'll see
see
you
you
later.
later. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that I have met through real estate or come to know more through real estate, I mean, I truly feel like honored that they trust me with one of their greatest and largest assets that they will probably ever have. And I don't take that lightly.
Hmm.
And it is, it's easy to kind of get, oh, I just go sell houses. I mean, that is not what I do, right? Like it's the relationships with the people and the care that we provide to them that means the most to me and why I
Yeah.
love to do what I do. And I don't take that for granted, in any way, shape or form. And that has been the premise of the business. Like it is definitely not a transactional thing for me. I mean, it's wonderful, like because to me, it's just like, sports or whatever, the more you pour into it, the more it compounds, on each other. And so I like the speed of real estate. I like the intensity and the immediate, my little ADHD brain, likes the constant, stimulation that I get from that. But the
Hmm.
people is what makes it like bearable, right? Because you're
Yeah.
otherwise, because these are incredible humans that like many of them I wouldn't have known unless I met them through real estate. I mean, a lot of our clients, of course, come from referrals from people passing names. I meet people at open houses and they're trusting me, this random stranger, at the moment, to help them through one of this. And it can go wrong as easily as it can go right. So I don't take that, for granted. And Louisville's such a great, fun, like space. And that is what it's about. It's about the people in the community
Hmm.
that we live in. And that's what fuels, all of it to me.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about the whole, when you look at life stressors, moving is, like, easily in the
And
top
usually they're having a
5.
baby or just got married before. So
Right, right. Oh,
or
doing it all at once.
member. So it's all, right in there together. But yeah, the stress is my cortisol manager subscription from Amazon is, on but yeah, no, I mean, but the people are definitely, I mean, that's what I love about it. That's what I love is serving people and being a good human and looking out and really trying to be set them up as well as I can, for
Yeah.
whatever the next step is in their life.
Yeah, 'cause, I think about when we moved a year ago. I mean, even
Hmm.
though it's a great thing, the reason for moving, still super stressful.
Yeah, I can't take the stress away. I can minimize it by
Yeah,
having
no.
processes and having things organized and having things in place. I can't
Yeah.
take it away, but we certainly can minimize it. And that's just the work
What
that you put in on the front side.
Yeah, so what have been the biggest changes in real estate, I guess, since you started to now that, you've had to adapt
Mhm.
to?
I would say, I mean, there's always like the pace of the market is really fast. And like I met with an older couple today. They've lived in their house for 30 years, like trying to explain to them, like, because technology is great, but technology makes us have to work a lot faster at things because of how we
Mm,
have to respond and react. And not everybody can move at the pace, right? That the market tends to want to move in. But you educate people, right? Like part of my biggest job and probably even as coaches is managing expectations, right? Like you're this athlete, we're going to probably be able to get you here, but you're not going to be a Lance Armstrong. And we all need to be clear on that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's the same way with our clients. Like I have to share that with them and share that journey with them just so that they understand like how it's going to come at them. So then when it does, they're like, oh yeah, I remember when Laura said that, kind of thing. So I think the pace is probably the hardest for a lot of people, but it's been pretty high pace since I've been in it for the most part, since 2014, 15, I wasn't here in the major crash. And then, I mean, it's like social media. Like you feel like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, I have to be not. I just want to go sell houses. I don't want to, have to. It's not performing, but like you got to think about like how am I putting myself out there? How are people finding me? How
Mm-hmm.
are they interpreting me? Feeling this need to kind of have to do like social media and all those things. That's a big part of it. I would say in the last couple of years, AI. We're using AI a lot mostly from a searching function. So you're kind of like, okay, now I got to learn how do I become the most searched realtor in on Chat GPT or Claude or various things. So there's it's I'd say it's there's always something, right? Like there's
Mm-hmm.
always a shiny object. And so then you just have to kind of go back to the core of like what are we doing and why are we doing it and what is at the base of it, which is the relationships of the people and how do I enhance that experience for those people so that they continue to refer, continue to be involved, continue to come back to us 5 years from now, 7 years from now. So I think it's if it's anything, it's the evolution of the shiny object, right? Like of like how easily it is to be distracted by lots of things. And you have to, that's why being clear on your philosophies, your core values, your mission, your why becomes really important because that keeps you from just being completely distracted by anything that's like, oh, you need this to make your business better. No, actually, we're fine. Like we
Yeah.
need humans and we need to be humans. We need to be good at what we do. We need to service and we'll probably be fine.
Yeah. And I think similar to coaching, real estate's such a relationship business.
Yes.
And you do, I mean, I think that's one of the benefits of social media is that you can post videos, you can, do things that give people a sense of who you are, what it would be like to work with you, versus just seeing a billboard or a sign out and saying, oh, they take a nice picture.
Yes. I mean, it allows them to find you a lot easier. That's kinda how
Hmm.
I think about social media. I was like, if somebody was trying to find me, how difficult would it be and what would it look like when they did, find me? I'm by no means, like, getting tons of business from that, but it just kinda keeps people connected. It does create a touch point, right? Like, so you stay front of mind for your people,
Yeah.
assuming they connect with you, in that regard.
Yeah. Where do you see your business going over the next, since we talked about goals, I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you, in the next however far you want to go out, 5, 10 years.
Yes. I'm like, "Okay, let's see." Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons when I made the move was to be able to try to set something up like that a little bit longer term. So, literally this week, I brought on, what I'm calling a production partner that will work alongside me, on, my buyers that I have coming in. One of my goals is to, grow my team, the Aubrey team, with producing agents on the team. That's a little bit harder for me to stay the leader of the group when I'm knee deep in the trenches of real estate. And so for me to do that at the level I'd want to do it, I felt like I needed support. I'm not ready to completely, like, I'm not total hands off. So that's why he's kind of being called more of a a production partner than just a real estate agent on the Aubrey team. He's not there to service his own business. I mean, his own business will come in, but he's really there to be an extension of me for my clients so that when they're showing houses, I'm doing all of that. So that's kind of phase one for me right now is to bring on that real broker, the brokerage that I moved over to is a cloud-based brokerage and basically non-existent. There's not many agents in Louisville with Real Broker. So one of the opportunities I saw to move over to Real Broker while growing the team is also to grow it within the city of Louisville and to promote it as a place where you can build your business the way that you want to build your business. You don't have to have your own independent brokerage, right? Where you're the sole owner and you're still supported by a national company. So bringing on Matthew, who will be working with the team, it will allow me to kind of focus on those two things, which will shape what happens 5 years from now, like 10 years from now. So I always, like I said, I'm looking at this like at the end of the line, wherever that line happens to
Hmm.
fall. In real estate, because it is so relational, I don't want my business to fall the second I take the foot off of the gas or off. Yeah, no, it's at the gas. Yes, not the brake. We don't
Yeah.
want to put it on the brake. So, and many times because we're the rainmaker, right? If I take the foot off the gas, the business dries up. And that's not a business, right? So I'm trying to create a business that allows me to leverage the skill sets that I have, being a coach, being a mentor, being a leader with other agents on the team. So they're kind of being able to run their business, but then obviously benefits my business as well.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the hardest. I mean, I saw this working at Humana is getting the level of talent on your team to a point
Mhm.
where you basically want to
Very.
make yourself obsolete.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get to a point where I can't go anywhere until I get you all to a point of you don't need me anymore.
Right, right. I mean, that's when you know you're really running things well. It's
Hmm.
scary. So much of my business are my relationships with people, and people value that relationship. So it's like, okay, how do I make this person truly feel like they're an extension of me and that it's not
Hmm.
compromised because I'm not there anymore? I think that's what
Yep.
the greatest fear is, with that. And then of course managing people and doing all that is a whole nother level. So right now I'm much more of like want to like hire slow, right? Because I'm so afraid. I think those systems that you have in place and really understanding your core values and understanding your philosophy of like who you are and what this organization is so important because I think he's like, yeah, I'm gonna, I sell this many houses. I'm gonna have a team, and
Hmm.
I've had enough assistant coaches to know a lot of assistant coaches think that they can be the head coach, right?
Sure.
And that, and I think that it's important to kind of iron out like how all that is going to work. And so I'm trying to do that slowly right now so that I don't have to unscrew a lot of things later.
Well, and that's where the whole culture, I mean, whether it's a sports team or a company, that
Right.
culture is so important and it has to be really strong so that when people interact with the Aubrey team, it feels like they're interacting with you
Right.
because the people are operating under the same standards, have the same goals, have the same whys.
Right. And
And you're
defining that
right.
for yourself is so important, like
Yes.
you have so much of that stuff up here, and that's because that's intrinsically who you are,
Yep.
but not everybody works under that same like work ethic, mindset, mentality. So you can't make any assumptions. And so you have to have this, your roots to come back to be like, did this exemplify this? Did this do this? Whatever. And sometimes you have to I've had like been spending the last couple of weeks defining that and putting that on paper where it hasn't really been needed before because it was me and my assistant,
Yeah.
here. So she's worked with me for 4 years. So it's kind of like we have this, unspoken, we know,
You
understand.
figured it out.
Yeah, but when you start adding people to it, you're like, "Oh, I gotta actually make sure I'm clear on this." So then I explain it to somebody else what it is. So it's been a great exercise, in that. So that's where I see it evolving right now. And that's what I'm kind of striving for, but I don't know if that'll be how it's packaged, 5 years, but that's what I'm trying to
Well,
do right now.
you make a plan and tweak it
Right.
along the way. That's for
You tweak it
sure.
along the way.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think part of, you know, you, any successful team, any successful business, I mean, you have to have people um, that are bought into what the
Yes.
company's about, what the team's about. Um, they can be, and I think diversity is a great thing, and that, people can come in and bring fresh ideas or a different perspective that makes you rethink stuff, but they still have to be bought into the mission,
Right.
um, for the
And
business to
because
be
your brand is
successful.
on the line, like who that
Yep.
person is, that they truly do become an extension of you and how, and I think you don't really want them to be you, right? Like you don't need a bunch of yous, right? Like people
Mhm.
have the roles, but at its core, they have to believe in like the mission and the values and the like what we represent. And because that is your business, right? Like that is what allows you to pay your bills, like you don't want that to be compromised.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. So where can, folks find you? Social media, it's, I
What
should
am
know it
I?
off the top of my
Laura
head.
in Louisville. I'm Laura in
Laura in
Louisville.
Louisville.
We move that around. So you can find us there. Our team is the Aubrey team. Laura Aubrey is my last name. So if you do a Google there, you can certainly find us in that. Laura, I guess at aubreteam.com. We also have Aubrey. I was like, had to think for a minute. What was that? Aubreteam.com. We've got, information that you can find out about us there as well. And then we're on YouTube too. Laura in
Oh,
Louisville. So yes, we
okay.
started that back in September. So we're slowly kind of building that as well. So it just has longer videos of some of the stuff that you'll see on our Instagram. I don't do TikTok. We're just
No.
on Instagram right now. So as Laura in Louisville.
And and they can also come see you in the Highlands. You're right there at the Douglas Loop.
Yes. Yep, we're in the Highlands right next to the Twig and Leaf, the pink door. We have a pink door right next to the Twig and Leaf, right kind of in the Douglas, Loop community.
Well, Laura, I really appreciate you spending time, with me
Yeah.
today.
Thank you for having me.
It was
It's
a lot of fun.
truly
Yeah,
we have had a lot of
absolutely.
fun. This was great. This is awesome.
Awesome. Well, all right. Well, thanks again, and I'm sure we will see you the next time we are in
I
Louisville.
hope so.